Thank you. Thank you very much. So, plus all he said, just know that he is fantastic at facilitation. If that's anything, the only thing you pick out whenever you need to run a really interactive session, think of Anil. Okay, so today Anil is talking about tips to set you apart in your role as a PO or Scrum Master. So Anil, with the ongoing wave of Agile transformation, more people are now product owners and now Scrum Masters within organizations because those are key roles that they'll always need to fill in. But what we find is after the initial upskilling of people into these roles, they tend to go into call it business as usual routine in their agile practices. So almost kind of like a mechanical way of doing things. Yeah, so it gets to the extent that I have seen teams who say, we no longer have daily stand-ups, right? Or some people, they just start skipping certain ceremonies because they feel it's now just routine and autonomous and stuff like that. So specifically now to Scrum Masters, what do you think they can do to improve this?
Well, when you say business as usual or status quo, if you're thinking about implementing Agile or Scrum, you really want to look at that status quo and change it. That's the reason why, as a Scrum Master, you're a change agent. Many thought leaders have this imagination. Think about for a second, you're going in a ship in the ocean, and suddenly the water gets lowered. You see rocks. And that's exactly what happens when you implement Scrum in an organization. You start seeing all the rocks that you need to actually change and take out. And the rocks could be, hey, you've got challenges with the product. Is the customer happy? Is the customer getting value? Is the team being effective? If you're skipping a daily Scrum, what is it that you're missing? Those are things that a Scrum Master should be observing and learning how to get over that or potentially help their team get over it so that they can actually question the status quo. I have one example from CIT. It was a Scrum Master. This was my first role as a Scrum Master, joined in, great team. This team was called Team Fast. We were really fast. We had this logo called the leopard. It was a leopard, and it was really jumping around. And the idea was, well, we're really good. Actually, the team was very good. But where they actually struggled was, one, the reviews. Stakeholders would be doing analysis, paralysis, providing no feedback, but really looking at the future, but without actually looking at what was already done. And so the agenda went on and on and on, and those reviews would be mostly like stakeholder, product owner talking to each other. Well, it turns out that the sprint review is all about getting feedback, looking at market conditions to see how we could pivot. The developers and product owner getting a chance to talk to stakeholders, getting what they think about the product. Did not happen. So first thing I did was actually create an agenda for them, ensure that that agenda was something that I facilitated and showed the product owner how to go ahead and facilitate it next. This team also had issues with sprint retrospectives. They would skip it, just like you said, the daily Scrum, they would just skip the sprint retrospective. It gets boring. We're talking about the same thing. What went well, what's going to get, what we're going to do next, which is going to be better. Eventually, it turns out like nothing, everything is the same. So what happened with this team is they're fast, but they're not improving anymore. They're just going on, like you said, business as usual. And then bugs creep up. Quality of the product goes down, but many a times what they have already picked up from the product backlog and they're working on the sprint, they're not able to deliver. What's the challenge? Well, the challenge is they're not looking at what's going on. Manual testing, there was a lot of time they spent on manual testing. That was something that they needed to automate. That came up in a sprint retrospective. If they didn't really look at that, they wouldn't get that. So how do you make your sprint retrospectives great? Well, go get this book called Agile Retrospectives by Diana Larson and Esther Derby. Learn from there the 5 stages of running a retrospective, and then use those techniques to make your retrospectives great. Those are ideas that you might want to consider. So that's what I had to do. How I did that? Lots of great books, lots of attending local user groups. So if you go to Scrum Alliance or if you look around in meetup.com, you're going to find user groups in your local community, or join one of your summits like you're running this one, and learn. Every time you learn, you're now going to take it back to your team and organization and make that change happen and really challenge the status quo. That's what